You stand before the towering crimson gates, clutching the wooden waist tag that proves your right to exist within these oppressive walls. You enter the domain of the Palace Protocol, where silence is the only currency and your name is replaced by a title. You notice the high red walls cut off the horizon, turning the sky into a distant square you can never truly reach. Auntie Sue hands you a rough uniform, warning that a single loose thread could insult the masters and invite severe punishment. You learn that this wooden waist tag is your life, for without it, you are an intruder awaiting immediate execution by guards. You scrub the frozen stone floors of the courtyard until your hands turn raw, fearing the inspection of the Department of Prudence. Lady Wei walks past you without a glance, treating you like invisible furniture, while you kneel with your forehead touching the ice. You tremble as Chief Eunuch Li reads the roster, his voice echoing the absolute power of the ancestral rules over your fate. You meet Orchid in the cramped sleeping quarters, and she shares a meager bun while whispering about the terrifying price of ambition. You see a servant dragged away for dropping a teacup, a brutal reminder that the Palace Protocol forgives no accidents or weakness. You memorize the hierarchy of the harem, knowing that looking a superior in the eye is a direct violation of the law. Auntie Sue teaches you to walk without sound, claiming that invisibility is the only shield against the whims of the bored consorts. You hold your breath as Lady Wei inspects your cleaning, praying she does not find a speck of dust on the jade. You realize the waist tag dangling at your hip is a heavy burden, marking you as property of the imperial household forever. You watch the heavy gates seal shut at sunset, locking you inside a golden cage where trust is a dangerous luxury. You wake before dawn to boil water, the steam hiding your tears as you long for the family you left behind outside. Orchid suggests a faster way to finish the laundry, but you hesitate to deviate from the strict methods of the ancestral rules. You spot Guard Chen at the side gate, his stoic gaze offering a rare moment of human connection amidst the rigid formalities. You find a broken hairpin in the hallway, panic rising as you wonder if picking it up will be seen as theft. You realize that the ancestral rules are designed to break your spirit, turning every small choice into a potential life-ending crime. Orchid takes the hairpin from your hand, promising to return it to the lost and found before the Department of Prudence notices it missing. You trust her smile, not realizing that in this palace, a favor is often a trap set by someone climbing the ladder. Lady Wei complains of a missing ornament, and the Department of Prudence descends upon the servant quarters to search every bunk. You stand in a line with shaking knees, watching the enforcers tear through your meager belongings, looking for the stolen gold item. Chief Eunuch Li finds nothing in your bed, but the fear of being framed lingers like the smell of stale incense smoke. Orchid glances at you with unreadable eyes, and you wonder if she truly returned the pin or kept it for leverage later. You serve tea to Lady Wei, your hands steady despite the terror of spilling a drop on her expensive silk robes. You overhear a whisper between Lady Wei and Dr. Zhang, a secret about an illness that must be hidden from the Emperor. Dr. Zhang catches your eye, and his sharp look warns you that knowledge in this place is a death sentence. You rush back to the safety of your chores, wishing you could scrub the dangerous secret from your memory like a stain. Auntie Sue warns you that Orchid has been spending time with the eunuchs, a sign that she is seeking power through betrayal. You try to distance yourself, but the Palace Protocol forces you to work alongside your rival in the claustrophobic laundry court. You discover a loose brick in the courtyard wall, a tiny hiding spot where previous maids left scratch marks of their despair. You hide a small coin there, a tiny piece of rebellion against a system that demands you own nothing and want nothing. Guard Chen nods at you one rainy afternoon, a subtle acknowledgement that feels louder than a scream in the silent palace. You start to understand that survival requires allies, but choosing the wrong friend is fast as suicide than jumping into the well. Lady Wei falls ill, and the mood in the palace shifts from tense silence to a frantic paranoid panic among the staff. You are ordered to brew the medicine, a task that places the life of a consort directly in your trembling hands. Orchid offers to deliver the bowl for you, claiming she wants to save you the walk in the freezing winter rain. You refuse her offer, sensing that the Department of Prudence would blame you instantly if the medicine failed to reach its destination. You deliver the bowl yourself, passing the ominous checkpoint where Manager Wang checks your waist tag with greedy, suspicious eyes. Lady Wei drinks the bitter brew and glares at you, looking for any sign of poison or treachery in your face. You survive the night, but the tension in the servant quarters grows as rumors of the consort's weakness spread like wildfire. Orchid brings you a sweet cake, an apology for her ambition, but the sugar tastes like a lie on your tongue. You find your hidden coin is missing from the loose brick, replaced by a terrifying note that simply says, "I know." You panic, realizing someone is watching your every move and waiting for the perfect moment to use the ancestral rules against you. Auntie Sue falls sick from exhaustion, leaving you without your only true protector in this nest of vipers and spies. You take on her workload to hide her illness, knowing the Department of Prudence discards sick servants without a second thought. Orchid sees you struggling with the double shift, her eyes gleaming with the opportunity to exploit your desperation for her gain. You beg Guard Chen to smuggle a letter to your family, a high treason risk that makes your heart pound against your ribs. Guard Chen refuses for his own safety, leaving you completely isolated within the crushing grip of the palace protocol. You return to the quarters to find Chief Eunuch Li waiting by your bunk, holding the missing hairpin you thought was returned. Orchid stands behind him, feigning shock as she accuses you of hoarding stolen goods to sell to the guards outside. You stare at her in horror, realizing the betrayal was planned weeks ago when she first took the pin from your hand. Chief Eunuch Li seizes your waist tag, stripping you of your identity and marking you as a criminal awaiting judgment. You are dragged to the Department of Prudence, the terrifying reality of the punishment room looming before you in the darkness. Auntie Sue drags herself from her sickbed, throwing herself at the feet of the enforcer to beg for your innocence. The enforcers hesitate, bound by a strange clause in the ancestral rules regarding the responsibility of senior mentors for their students. Auntie Sue claims she stole the pin, sacrificing her clean record to save you from the bamboo rod and certain expulsion. You scream as they drag her away instead, the cruelty of the Department of Prudence tearing your heart apart in the courtyard. You are left alone with your waist tag returned, but it feels heavy with the guilt of your mentor's sacrifice. Orchid is promoted for her honesty, smiling at you from her news station while you scrub the floor where she stands. You vow to survive not just for yourself, but to expose the cruelty that crushed the only person who cared for you. You study the palace protocol late at night, looking for the technicalities that the eunuchs use to manipulate the system. You realize the roster is managed by Manager Wang, of who cares more about silver bribes than the strict letter of the law. You start collecting secrets instead of coins, listening through the paper walls to the whispers of the powerful and corrupt. You discover that Lady Wei is falsifying the medicine records to hide her recovery and avoid the Emperor's unwanted attention. You spot Dr. Zhang passing a heavy pouch to Manager Wang, a transaction that violates the core of the ancestral rules. You realize everyone in the palace is breaking the rules, and survival depends on who controls the evidence of the crime. Orchid tries to bully you again, but this time you meet her gaze with the cold, dead eyes of a survivor. You drop a hint about the medicine records in her hearing, baiting her into investigating a secret that is too big for her. Orchid takes the bait, her ambition blinding her to the danger of interfering with the private affairs of a consort. You watch as she sneaks into the archives, unaware that you have already alerted Manager Wang to a potential security breach. The trap snaps shut as Manager Wang catches her snooping, his greed for silence outweighing any loyalty to a junior maid. Orchid is dragged away in silence, her eyes wide with the realization that she underestimated the quiet girl she betrayed. You feel no joy in her fall, only a cold numbness as you realize you have become part of the ruthless cycle. Auntie Sue dies in the workers' infirmary, her final message to you, a warning to leave before the walls eat your soul. You decide that survival is not enough, and you must find a way to escape the Forbidden City before you vanish completely. You examine your waist tag, realizing it grants access to the supply gate during the chaotic preparations for the Lunar Festival. You know that the ancestral rules relax slightly during the festival, creating a rare blind spot in the gaze of the Department of Prudence. You need a permit to exit, a document that only Manager Wang can stamp with his official seal of authority. You approach Manager Wang with the knowledge of his bribes, risking execution for blackmail in exchange for a single stamped paper. Manager Wang laughs at your audacity, but the fear in his eyes tells you that your secret leverage is working perfectly. He stamps a blank exit permit, warning you that if you are caught, he will deny everything and watch you die. You hide the permit in your shoe, walking on the paper that represents your freedom with every painful step you take. The day of the festival arrives, and the palace explodes with noise and color, distracting the guards at the inner gates. You carry a heavy basket of laundry toward the service exit, your heart hammering against the wooden waist tag at your hip. Guard Chen stands at the final checkpoint, the only person who might recognize you, despite your disguise as a laundry worker. You present the permit and your waist tag, praying that the paperwork holds up against the scrutiny of the exit protocol. Guard Chen looks at the permit, then at your face, and you see a flicker of recognition in his tired eyes. He hesitates, his hand resting on the hilt of his sword, torn between his duty and the silent bond you shared. You hold your breath, knowing that your life hangs on the decision of a man you have never spoken to. Guard Chen stamps your papers and waves you through, a silent gift of mercy that breaks the rigidity of the system. You walk through the dark tunnel of the gate, the sounds of the festival fading into a dull roar behind you. You step out into the bustling street, the noise of the common people hitting you like a physical wave of freedom. You do not look back at the red walls, knowing that to look back is to invite the shadow of the palace to follow. You realize you are still clutching the waist tag, the symbol of your enslavement, now a useless piece of wood. You find a canal and throw the tag into the dark water, watching your identity as a palace maid sink forever. You blend into the crowd, a faceless woman in a sea of people, finally owning the silence inside your own head. You understand that the ancestral rules were a cage made of fear, and you broke the lock by refusing to play the victim. You find work in a quiet tea house, far from the capital, where the only rules are to brew the leaves correctly. You sometimes wake up in a cold sweat, hearing the phantom echoes of the chief eunuch calling the morning roll. You touch the scar on your hand from the scrubbing, a permanent reminder of the price you paid for your survival. You hear rumors of the empire crumbling, the red walls falling, and you feel a strange pity for those still inside. You light a stick of incense for Auntie Sue, thanking her spirit for teaching you the strength to endure the unendurable. You see a girl looking at a palace recruitment poster, her eyes full of the same naive hope you once had. You walk over and tear the poster down, a small act of rebellion to save a stranger from the golden trap. The girl looks at you in confusion, but you just shake your head and walk away, leaving the mystery unexplained. You realize that freedom is not just being outside the walls, but freeing your mind from the fear of authority. You live a simple life, poor but yours, savoring the taste of a bun that you did not have to beg for. You wonder what happened to Guard Chen, hoping that your escape did not cost him his position or his life. You know that the history books will never record your name, nor the names of the thousands of women who vanished there. You accept your invisibility, no longer as a curse, but as the ultimate victory against a system that wanted to own you. You look at the moon, the same moon that shines on the Forbidden City, and smile because it looks different from here. You're no longer a piece of furniture or a line on a roster, but a human being breathing free air. The nightmare of the harem fades with time, becoming a story you tell only to the silence of the night. You survive the impossible, escaping the most heavily guarded prison on earth with nothing but wit and a little luck. Your life is a testament to the fact that no system is perfect, and every wall has a crack if you look close enough. You must never let anyone define your worth by a tag on your waist or a number in a book. You are the author of your own story now, so walk forward and never let them put you in a cage again.